Hey folks, Jono here. Just want to share something quickly about ways of being and how they can be very limiting and just working away in the background. A lot of the time we don't even know it. For me, it was working away in the background for sort of 15, 18, 20 odd years. This way of being where I felt the need to be like a workaholic and to be viewed like a workaholic. And when it came to my marriage, which is non-existent anymore due to that striving and lack of presence when I was home, because I always felt I had to be working, thinking of the workload all the time, is that it really cost me a lot, not only in my marriage and the fact that now my wife and children live 200 kilometers away and my marriage is over, but also I had no idea that it was working away in the background, this subconscious commitment to being viewed as like this hard done by, hard working farmer that was ever resilient and supportive of his family. It came from feeling like I didn't have the support from my father through taking on what other people in my family and the community thought of my father. And then also my desire to be really hardworking, because my stepfather was really hardworking and he was never home, and I really adored him. And I guess when it occurred to me just recently, and especially this way of being of wanting to be like I guess, hardworking guy, ever pressing to make this broken farming system work. And I did it for like 15 years, and best management practice said I was good at that. I even had the certificates and the, all the rest of it to say I was good at it, but yet I wasn't actually ever really that happy. I just floated through life, especially the last decade, until I had my wife and children leave, and then I had to really confront what it was for me after being hell-bent on making it in the farming industry, especially the conventional farming industry, in particular the dairy industry. Was all I wanted for myself in my life was to be viewed as this guy that was always there for his family. I wanted to have the farm, and I used to take wins as like, I used to buy new vehicles all the time. That was a big win for me, because I felt like I was a victim of my circumstances in the world of farming. I just thought that was the way it is. I mean, I was taught to farm that way. I never made any money, and I was able to then get present to what my part in the end of the marriage was, which was the fact that I was just never there for my wife. Poor thing, she just endured so much crap for me, because not only in the farming game, I was also in the agricultural chemical application game, and I managed a company that was, I would work 100-hour weeks for a lot of the year, and had children through that time. And even my second born, my second child, Bo, my gorgeous little 3-year-old son, he's now 3, is that the day my wife went into labour, I was out spraying a paddock. I'll check this fog out. Just got this fog rolling in. I'm just moving some lambs, just excuse me, multitasking. Was that I was spraying this paddock, and I felt like I couldn't let anyone down, to the point where I had my wife wait for me to finish the paddock. And then I rushed home and rushed her where we were supposed to go to Christchurch for the birth of my son. We got to Lincoln and she was pushing. And so we had to pull in at Lincoln maternity unit, and our son was born 5 minutes after arrival. And that, to me, is something that I've got to live with for the rest of my life. I was so hell-bent on being this guy who got the work done, and I forgot about my family. And I'm just thankful for now I've been able to address this way of being that has just had me limited. This fog is next level. It's just rolled on in. Being this guy that couldn't let farmers down, and then when I was farming and in management for many years, it's like no matter what I did, and I was good, well, certainly what best management practice says is good, but I felt like I was never complete and I was never fulfilled. I was so hell-bent on being busy that I'd get home at night and I couldn't relax. I resorted to smoking marijuana as like an escape in the evenings to get myself to sleep, because my brain wouldn't let me relax. I had it that I was never good enough, and that, like in the workplace, to me that was the most important thing. And I even had guys tell me that my work was my contribution to my family. I'll never forget those words. I remember being at the beach with my children and my wife. We're having a lovely afternoon, and I used to watch the trees when I was spraying. I was a contractor. I used to watch the treetops, and whenever they'd stop moving, and if I wasn't at work, I'd be instantly taken away from whatever I was doing at the time. And in this case, it was being present with my children and my wife at the beach. Was that I just couldn't even be with them. Even when I was there physically, I was gone. Like, lights are on, nobody's home. And through this eagerness to, I guess, be viewed as this really hard-working guy, I forgot about the important things in life, like my family. And now I've got to live with that. But thank goodness, even with the 2 days a fortnight that I have my children, as I can be present with them. And my son is 3 and my daughter, she's 6. And they get to have their father for the first time, because I've been able to address this subconscious way of being where I felt like I had to work like a dog, and no matter how hard I worked, it was never good enough. And so I just want to share the impact of that. And I believe it's a stereotype in New Zealand. I believe it's something that is rife, and especially in men. And I just want to have people know, like my stepfather's still one of them, and he's like, oh shit, my phone's going flat, I better run back to the truck. He's still a spraying contractor, and he had the same thing. My mum left him, all the kids left him, and he even had it be to the point where he lost everything financially, but he couldn't speak up. He was sitting in the dark. He had his power cut off. He had his phone cut off, and he couldn't even go to the neighbours to ask for help. And that to me was a striking and alarming thing to have happen, and especially to think, like, how long was he like that for? How long was he sitting in the dark living on defrosted food in the deep freezer before luckily my uncle came along and found him sitting there in the dark? I'll never forget. And to me it's just like, wow, why can't we talk about our shit? Why can't men talk about what's not working? It has to be like we're also tough. We're tough men, Fuck that. It has us taken away from the important things in life, and you blink and a decade's gone. I'm so passionate about it, and that's a part of my business is natural performance, and why I started Quorum Sense, the discussion group, is like, we need to really share and talk about not only like the practices in farming, and now we're learning about regenerative agriculture and the practices that work and that don't. So we share what doesn't work, whereas in the past guys have been too proud to, and so we all collectively fail, and no one's talking about it. But bringing these group of people together, this amazing group of farmers, is that guys are now present too. That actually there's no shame in talking. There's no now there's not much fear, and it's got really cold now, look, if you can see that. And I want to point out that I've since been able to address my, I guess, commitment to comfort. I've given up smoking drugs in the evening. It was something I did for a long time, and it was uncomfortable to have to sit there with my feelings and my thoughts and my resignation of how I lived for the last decade and a half, to now putting it to something positive and putting it to use and sharing it in a way that hopefully it impacts some people, even 1 or 2 people. And I'm here to support guys. If guys need any help on farm, off farm, especially around the regenerative agriculture space, this is why I'm here. I started Natural Performance Limited this year, and I'd love to be of service to the people of the farming community, not only in restoring natural resources and profitability and resilience, but also bringing back the real joy and passion that it is to be a farmer and to be, like we're making the food for the world. How exciting is that? There's nothing to be depressed about. You look at the rate of suicide in this country, it's rife. It's so sad, and men can't talk about it. The system is broken. We're addressing it slowly. Well, actually, we're addressing it rapidly. I always thought that myself, I couldn't be of service. I was too small. I was this one guy. And what I found is, just in reaching out and speaking and sharing, is that I'm not the only one that this has happened to. And so now I'm okay with being alone. I've got my pets. Where's Peg and Chad? They're back there somewhere. Peg. Hello, Peg. I got my goat Trevor. He's a cool bugger, and I get to be connected to what it is to be a farmer again, and it's really, really nice. The contentment is just a byproduct. The performance is also a byproduct. When you address these limitations, is man, you can get some shit done when you're not locked up in your head about how shit things are. I don't know what the word is. The word is cynicism, but that just disappears. And that's all just a byproduct of getting present to your surroundings, putting aside those stereotypes, and just being with not only your family and your kids and your peers, sharing the experiences. That's, I believe, to be the effect of quorum sensing, which is what we named quorum sense after, a derivative of quorum sensing, and adding with it, a slither of common sense. Because to me, we talk about diversity of species and pastures, that support system and that full expression of that different makeup of plants, it happens in humans as well. And the more of us that share and fully express ourselves, even in spaces of no agreement, it's like inspiring, quorum sensing takes place, and just magic happens. So I just wanted to share that. It just hit me, and rather than being staying in my head about it, I just wanted to share that. Hopefully I can be of impact.